Hello and welcome to this episode where Economic Times presents the data sessions powered by Qlik. Join us as we explore the challenges around data integration and analysis, showcase success stories, and introduce industry-leading solutions. In a digital economy driven by the competition for attention, how can you possibly get the customer's attention and create a sustainable engagement cycle? Well, to answer that, we have our first speaker of the day taking us through customer engagement and insights. Let's listen in.
The theme of our discussion is using data and analytics to accelerate the business value within the organization. Considering the current pandemic, what shifts or opportunities or challenges that has brought in at HDFC Life, and maybe how data and analytics has helped you address some of these situations?
It's been quite interesting for us because we've had to kind of innovate from the word go. So to start with, everybody being pushed into work from home, and then we had to build things around it. So, for example, for our new business journeys in insurance, where we kind of speak to customers almost on a face-to-face basis, we had to kind of innovate and build what we call internally as Vice, which is basically our tele-video calling app, which we can speak to customers. The sales team started using that. On the data side, initially getting everybody access to data, and therefore using the right VMs to kind of get people to connect to the central servers. That was interesting. We've also started having on the AI side, things around how do we ensure that people who are accessing the data are the right people who were there initially. Our contact center executives, etc., used to have a very sanitized environment where they kind of had a situation wherein you could not carry a phone, you could not carry pen and paper and stuff. How do you do that? So we apart from an OTP kind of a verification, we started having a face verification piece, which we internally call WorkSmart, which is getting rolled out across, which just does a face verification that it's indeed the right person and stuff. So we did that internally. Those are a couple of things.
You have been using Qlik for almost a decade now. How has that journey been? How are you using Qlik in order to transform the data, utilize that, and impact your business outcomes?
Initially, we used to have data dumps and Excel sheets. So when we started with Qlik, that's when we started dashboarding things and started putting things together. The first piece that we did was, make it all pervasive. And as we increase in size and complexity, one of the things we thought is that how do we kind of create more real-time dashboard, which gives a view of the process on the floor right now. So we did something, for our premium customers, which we call the HNI cell. It's basically a dashboard which kind of looks at different aspects of where a policy servicing request travels and how much is the time that is currently being taken across each of these pieces. So it helps you catch or track any sort of TAT escalation or turnaround time escalation before it becomes an escalation in a customer concern. Mm-hmm. Apart from that, we're looking at many more things where we are giving control of data into the hands of our employees. So we are building a lot of self-service modules. We internally call it Andrew.
What trend do you see next 2 to 3 years that would be impacting the data and analytics world, and how are you keeping pace with that?
So I think one of the key trends I see is every company is becoming a data company, right? So therefore, every function, every employee is basically becoming more and more data savvy. So what I see is increasing amount of data democratization. We also see a lot of people who are closer to the business now understanding the power of data and providing better inputs from an analytics perspective in terms of how can a business problem be kind of interpreted as an analytics problem? How can it can be interpreted as a data problem or a predictive modeling problem? So I think a lot of citizen data scientists coming up and taking more interest will ensure that this interpretation problem will solve much faster, and people can actually make more value of it.
What advice you would have for our audience who are there already on the journey of transformation using data and analytics?
Most of the times, the first step of the journey is usually the hardest, which is collecting your data, cleaning it, and putting it into maybe a data lake or into an enterprise data warehouse or whatever. The piece is that this particular first stage generally does not have a straight line to revenue, right? Very immediately. So a lot of times people are worried that, okay, why are we undertaking this big expense, right? So it does need a little bit of a leap of faith initially. Another useful is start small, right? I mean, a lot of times, especially with some of the newer things like artificial intelligence and things like that, where people, there's so much happening in the world every day. you don't see as many, applications into production or into, daily usage and adoption. So in order to do that, start small, have the first one in there, then the second one, and the third one. And I think that's really what helped us, I think, to start with. And now we've been able to kind of roll out AI products at a fairly decent pace.
Next up, we bring you a one-on-one discussion with Varun Babar on how artificial intelligence has weaved itself into our lives in a way that it doesn't seem out of the box anymore.
Most organizations are creating a lot of data with all the interactions that they're having with their environment. That environment may be their customers, suppliers, it may be machines in form of sensor-based data, it can be social media interactions with their public. So a lot of data is getting generated. And if we compare this data equivalent to say ingredients in our refrigerator. So we have all the right ingredients in our refrigerator, but if we have to create a right meal, a perfect meal, we need to know that recipe which guides us that, okay, this is the amount of particular ingredient is required. At this time, we need to put it. These ingredients are important. So that gives us a perfect dish. In the same way, the organizations which have this recipe to give the right people the right data at the right place and on a more real-time basis are the organizations which will have the competitive advantage. So organizations which have capability to find the data, understand that data, trust that data, and then take action based on that data on a more real-time basis. At Qlik, we call this as active intelligence. So the idea behind active intelligence is that we want to remove the burden that the people in the organizations are having when they want to interact more with the data. So we want to embed data insights within their day-to-day work by embedding data insights in their daily workflow so that they have continuous intelligence and they can take real-time decisions. Artificial intelligence is the silver spoon that is going to solve all our problems. So to me, AI is more about augmented intelligence, wherein artificial intelligence and cognitive capabilities combine together to aid the human to improve their performance. So it is very important to have a human embrace these technologies and leverage his experience to get maximum out of it. So we are a cricket loving country, right? So let me give an example from there. So we have all seen our coaches using those bowling machines, right? And I'm sure these machines are sophisticated enough to and have many configurations to simulate many deliveries so that batsmen can be trained. But given the same thing, still coaches need the net bowlers also. So the machine has not eliminated the human. So the combination of both, the marriage of the machine, that is the bowling machine, and the human, that is the net bowlers, allows the coach to train the batsman in the right way. And that is what is required in the analytics world also. That is the marriage between the human and the machine learning technologies. So the way people are going to leverage these technologies is going to define how they derive value out of it. Like I mentioned, every interaction is creating a lot of data. And it is humanly impossible for a human being to get patterns out of this data. So that is where machine learning comes into play. Machine learning technologies gives you insights, and then human uses that experience on top of it to make meaningful decisions out of it. And if you add on to it, there are many technologies which are actually making it very convenient for the users to get access to the data. Technologies like natural language-based search analytics. We have conversation analytics driven by NLP platforms. So a lot of things are happening to make it easy for a user to get access to that data. But if you ask me what is that one thing which is going to completely change the way and the impact that data analytics can bring to the organization, to me, that is data democratization. That how do you make your organization a more data literate organization? So when we talk about literacy, and if I go back, say, a few decades, education was something which was only available to a privileged lot. And now that is not the case. India have Right to Education Act. People have access to education, and we are moving as a more literate nation now. But that's not happening in the organization. In organizations, we are still seeing that the data is only available to the privileged few. That is the top management, and hence probably we also have this name, right? MIS, Management Information Systems. So there is a big change that is required in this, wherein we are taking this data to the broader audience so that every person in your organization is leveraging this data to get maximum out of it. And that is where the biggest change and impact is going to happen. And that is where I think most of the initiatives of the organization should focus on, that they should focus on moving their people, enabling their people, upskilling their people to work more with data, understand the data, talk to the data, argue with the data, get more out of that data to do their jobs better, and take the data to them also. So, and at Qlik, we are doing a lot of things around this area. We, in fact, launched our data literacy as a service offering starting January 2020, wherein now we are working with customers on this transformation program, which is not only a technology initiative, but it is also a change management initiative, because you're talking about upskilling your complete workforce to get more from the data that is there.
Welcome back to Economic Times presents the Data Sessions powered by Qlik. Up next, we have industry stalwarts speaking about businesses entering a new era ruled by AI and how companies can obtain valuable insights that can radically drive their business growth.
Sanjeevan, how do you think this AI has been used in the organizations and how it can be used for more effective decision-making purposes?
People are only concentrating on the sales aspect. However, nobody looks at the background. What is that background? Is your data clean? Is your data structured to provide that sort of an output so that the AI and ML technology can take very easily and give the output the way you have intended to? How your data is geographically scattered. So this needs a lot of thought process, and you need to take everybody along with you, and it should be one of the strategic decision from the top management. Okay, and then you will be able to get the actual benefit of AI. It has to be a smooth road. To drive a Ferrari and Indian road, you may not get that experience. So if you drive an AI ML where your roads are not structured, you will not get that experience, right?
Saujanya, what challenges do you see and how do you really address those sort of challenges in this journey?
I think we process almost 500 million transactions in a day. We get all the bank's data. And we have almost 100 to 500 node clusters. It's a big, massive infra. We built it. And we use AI/ML very extensively because we build a railroad, all platforms for what 80% of the work is actually data processing work, data engineering work. And 20% of the work is only model building work, AI and ML. And we use AI/ML in the fraud risk management for predicting fraudulent transactions for UPI, our RuPay product, and NETC FASTag product, and Aadhaar-enabled payment systems. We integrated AI/ML as a part of our products, actually. It's not like a separate. When you do a transaction, when you swipe your card, right, as the transaction is happening, I run my AI/ML engine and give the output within the sub-milliseconds.
Rukesh, how this data and analytics is impacting business outcomes at Edelweiss?
I'll tell you the stages and how or what we are doing. So the first step to this is just get the data, clean the data, ensure it is coming, it's accurate, and have it in your data platform. You know, we've achieved that journey of at least being able to get all our data in one place, right? Then the next bit as well, we've made significant progress on is around, now that you've got the data, of course, I mean, you know, credit and insurance all works around models, right? So the real game really starts when you can take that data and show it to machine learning things and correlation within the data, which a human or the business intelligence didn't do it for you. From our perspective, you know, there are two areas which largely focusing on. One is around the credit decisioning. How do you decide who to give loan or who not to give loan? Right? So that's on the credit decisioning side. Then comes the credit. Then on the early warning, so which is the predictive analytics side, right? Once you've given a loan, it's very easy to give a loan, right? It's very easy to give money, but the most important thing in credit is to collect the money back.
Recovery.
There's been a massive shift towards collection and a lot of attention towards the collection.
So let's go to Abhay. Let's hear his view as well in terms of what he thinks, maybe an advice or a trend that he sees.
As I say, data is the new oil. Data could also be the new uranium. Yeah.
Okay.
Which means that if you don't use it properly, it will become radioactive. So I would say that the raw material, which is the core piece of data, needs to be governed and cleansed and interpreted and meta tagged. And that is really a lot of hard work that most people tend to underestimate. We just assume that, we will ingest all of these streams in data and we've got these huge data lakes where we can actually just pump all of it. I think it's very important to make sure that there is governance around how that data is coming in and what is it that needs to get cleansed. Point two, in terms of a mindset, start small, think big. Your initial experiments will fail. Do not be disheartened with it. And the third and the most important thing is that you will ultimately create a culture, where every decision will need a data point backing it up.
Chakra, would you like to share your thoughts maybe on trend or advice?
So, I think, from an advice standpoint, I would see the trend that's coming out is, and especially more in BFSI space, is around embedding analytics into business process. So today, a lot of the analytics happens in the back. I think the real power, and it's obviously a lot of other industries have done it. We have to get a lot more mature in BFSI space, is embedding the analytics into the business process, whether it's digital or physical or purely physical interaction or process. And I think that's where a lot of the other things that have been said, like data, cloud, those journeys will really kind of help us get there. But I would say that's a trend. I think in a couple of years, most of the analytics will be embedded into a business process.
Next up, in a Power Pack discussion, let's understand how innovation and technology have important effects on businesses irrespective of industry or organization.
I live, eat, breathe technology, and technology can do wonders, and that's why we love it. We have already seen many jobs which were earlier dependent on humans being performed by technology completely. I've personally been involved in a number of digital transformation where technologies like Qlik have actually made a number of decisions possible, which otherwise using a human mind could be either less right or impossible. So I would be interested to hear from you, Alok, what an organization like Indian Oil can undertake the example using data analytics platform and deliver some of those business benefits.
So the technology can do a lot of good to you, particularly for companies of scale like us. And in the digital transformation journey, I know that Industry 4.0 technologies like robotic process automation, machine learning, AI, data analytics, these are the technologies which hold a lot of promise. And the potential of this technology is just not curtailing expenses. It also helps us to, it can help us to utilize assets effectively. It can help us improve production performance. It can even help us boost the bottom lines, or simply improving the customer or stakeholders' experience. As far as particularly coming to data analytics is concerned, yes, Indian Oil refineries and pipelines and the customer-facing systems, they are a host to huge amount of data. Real-time data is being generated in refineries and pipelines. Even customer transactions are happening, and there is ample scope for doing data analytics, which we have tried to do in our digital transformation project for namely value maximization or top line improvement or cost reduction, predictive maintenance, even things like operational effectiveness or availability improvement. And we have seen benefits in some of the ML-based analytic projects. We have been using R and Python for developing algorithms, and Qlik as a dashboarding platform. And yes, now some of the projects are being even scaled up to all our 10 refineries. So I find a lot of scope for these projects.
And the way the technology has improved over time, the speed is something which I certainly love. But I think what is the other thing which I really love is the power it provides to the employee. It's no longer the kinds of technologies where we used to build big systems somewhere in the back room and then people can simply use it. I see the benefit of some of these technologies also that they are actually putting the power in the hands of the user. That means you can do what you like. What's been some of your experience around that? Anything which you'd like to share there?
As a part of the taking digital to the employees, we have been conducting a lot of training programs, and particularly we trained our officers on the self-service dashboarding platform. We use Qlik only, and we conducted a training for just 2 or 3 days training. And to our surprise, many of our officers who were doing analytics in Excel till now, they could develop good dashboards in Qlik, and they could host it, and the whole department is using it. We have done especially we have done a hackathon in Indian Oil on analytics only in the last year, December. We got around very enthusiastic 50 plus entries. Again, we are going to conduct another hackathon. It's underway. That is on the subject of robotic process automation. Again, I expect a lot of benefit if we can automate many repetitive processes in Indian Oil.
Just how do major organizations use data and analytics to make strategic and operational decisions? Here are insights into the challenges and opportunities.
The power of data and analytics, which I'm an absolute true believer in, it is also one of those things which on its face sounds quite impossible. If you talk to the CEO of any business, they will say, I really don't want much. I only have 3 desires in life. I just want to make sure that my revenues skyrocket, my costs go down as low as they can, and I continue to manage those risks. And I'm sure there are technologies which can address either increasing the revenue. For example, you could put different kinds of technology and bring more customers in. Or you could bring technologies which could actually help you reduce costs. So the whole thing which we heard about robotics, industrial automation, all that, were actually reducing cost of human labor and getting things done. Or you can also use technology to do things in a manner that you get alert before things go wrong. But data and analytics, I think this is one such technology which has the power to fulfill all the 3 wishes of any CEO. Today, everybody is undertaking a digital transformation journey. I would like to hear from you because you're the one who have seen closely implement some of these technologies and actually deliver business outcomes. Share with us what's been your learning and what kind of business benefits one can get from implementing analytical technologies like Qlik.
The way I think this journey started for most of the companies, including us, a few years ago, we started with more of a descriptive analytics, right? You have all the data, and then you had tools through which you used to do reporting of, based on all the data which is available with you, right? But I think in the last few years, this data and analytics space has, gone in a very, very different league, right? So you have moved from descriptive analytics to predictive and prescriptive analytics. So therefore, it's important to actually have a tool which can actually help you to do a predictive and prescriptive analytics, right? So therefore, what has happened, over the last couple of years, I think companies have actually taken this journey and saying that, okay, fine, how can I actually use this data, to get better insights? Not only better insights, how can I actually get how can we actually predict things, which is basically more of a foresight, right? And therefore, I think it is becoming very, very important also to not have only data which is structured in nature. We will have also a lot of unstructured data which we'll have to capture. We will not depend only on your internal data. You will also have a lot of external data which we'll have to capture. And I think we'll have to use the right technology which can actually give you these insights and foresights in a very easy manner, right? And that's what has been the journey for many companies, including us. We have invested in Qlik. We actually chose Qlik, 7-8 years ago, right? And since then, we have been using Qlik in our business, right? And this Qlik deployment has grown over a period of time, in our organization. So we started with the India business, and then subsequently we extended to other geographies, across the globe. And we are using it quite extensively for all our analytics, whether it's sales, whether it's supply chain, whether it's finance. It's not only dashboarding, it is also trying to figure out what can happen, going forward, and then along with that, we are also embedding some of the newer things, like, you're embedding new technologies like AI, ML, NLP, so on and so forth, right? To predict things for future.